Tank, the Tower Education Group, which is carrying out worldwide research. Joan has given hundreds of invited addresses on every continent. She is visiting professor at Middlesex University, London. Professor Joan Freeman was honored by British Psychologist Society with a Lifetime Achievement Award for her work with the gifted and talented. She is chartered psychologist with a private practice in London, specializing in the potential of young children. Madam, we are very eager to hear you. Thank you.
Oh, dear friends, dear colleagues, I'm very glad to finally make it up here. And thank you very much for your patience. I don't know what difference it will make, this long wait, whether you expect more of me because you waited so long, or you expect less of me. But whatever it is, you're going to get what I intended. We have found the PowerPoint, and I come to you as perhaps a representative of European work, not American, not Asian, European, and this is the beginning. Welcome to my world of Europe, of networking. Help, please, somebody. No, I don't want a chair. I want to move this thing. Oh, it's a pointer. How do I move it? I do this? Yeah. I do, hooray. Essentially, this was a piece of work done by a group of researchers, I found it, called the Tower Education Group. Oh, sorry. It was commissioned with government money, which was quite a lot, and we did a review of what the world does for gifted children. We felt that there was quite a lot of Western influence which may not be appropriate for other countries. So we did a survey of thousands of people from different cultures, asking what they do and how they perceive gifted children in the first place. The whole report is available on my website if you want it. So here we have the world. We're looking at essentially these places: USA, UK, China, India, and the rest. Oh. Among this world of gifts and talents, there are certain myths, and these myths about the gifted are quite prevalent. On the whole, the gifted child is seen as male. On the whole, the gifted child wears glasses. And you will find on the covers of many, many books on gifted children something like this. There'll be a boy with glasses. But all those other things are important. What makes a gifted child? Money makes a gifted child. If you have access to the very best of education and opportunity and a family which supports you, you are more likely to be recognised as gifted. Sex makes a difference, and culture. What is culturally different, what is culturally gifted is not necessarily true in another culture. Oops, sorry. Overall, looking mostly from my own work, across the world at the various cultures, it seems to be roughly divided, and I mean roughly, and overlapping, into two kinds of approach to the idea of high ability, of giftedness. One is our Western view of genetic approaches, so that you will have a spectrum, roughly, of abilities, And at the very top end of that spectrum, there are those children called gifted. Very few of them. You may take, say, the top 5%, which means that 95% you dismiss. It's very, very wasteful, I think, the Western way of looking. These are the children who are tested for giftedness in some way. The Eastern view, which I was so pleased to hear our Japanese colleague say, I agree with you absolutely, is so different. It's a sort of it's a bottom-up approach, as you said. Everybody is there having the opportunity, and it works completely differently in the more eastern parts of the world, China and Japan notably. They overlap. Some countries have both. Some countries only work by the bottom-up approach. This gives many more children much better chances and is not so wasteful of human endeavour. Hard work is a big part of it. If you look at the Western view, hard work takes a lower rank. And we know, as any teacher knows, hard work pays off. In the Western world, this is how we work. IQ, I use it. This is how the scores go. If you use an IQ test, it's based on this, that's what it does, and that's what you get. And we take the top end there. Anything you like, 5%, 20%, 30%, 1%. Your choice. You do what you like. But if you look at that view, you don't get many brilliant children. It's got to be a tiny percentage, just at the top end. Not many Einsteins. Not many superheroes. Not many sporting people. I picked this up from a book which is doing very well in Britain about tiger mothers, what we call the Chinese. And I'll read it quickly. This is what she writes about China. Chinese parents demand perfect grades because they believe that their child can get them. Isn't that something? If their child does not get them, the Chinese parent assumes it's because the child didn't work hard enough. Simple. You've got it, go for it. So we now have the situation where in a country which works like that, the whole country goes up in standards. And we know now, economically, what is happening. So how do schools around the world identify gifted children? What do they do to distinguish them, if they distinguish them? Primarily, teachers' judgment. No tests. I mean, I'm talking worldwide, remember. Grade marks are very influential on teachers. If you get high marks, you must be good at it. Parents actually come into this quite a lot. Teachers listen to parents, which may surprise you. Standard intelligence tests, although it's 54% use them, this review does have an American bias because more Americans are likely to answer these questionnaires, and there were. So you get a higher level on standard intelligence tests, which most of the rest of the world does not even look at. There are other tests. Some send the children to educational psychologists who test them. They see how well they do on coursework. Some, 27% only, use open provision. That means, like in the Oriental way, you provide for the children. Those who take it up can go as far as they can. Open provision is used far more than indicated here. Creativity tests, and then other tests that the teachers make up themselves. Spiritual gifts, which are perhaps more pertinent here in India, we don't go in for spiritual gifts a lot. You'll recognise your Hungarian saint. That is a gifted child. Or is that a gifted child? Is this another set of criteria? Another way of looking at gifts? This is an American view. This is a summer school, the Centre for Talented Youth, where selected children who mostly can pay $1,000 a week get special education for a little while, for a few weeks a year. This is not implanted into their regular education. There are others, of course, other summer schools. This is one I took at CTY, a mechanics class, totally filled by Chinese. I mean, you could be in China, and all boys. One thing I bring you from Europe is that we do have a long tradition of specialist schools. This is a ballet school in Moscow, where the children do start very early and reach very, very high standards. Other countries have specialist schools, of course, but I think this has been going for a millennia or two, hundreds and hundreds of years. Here, of course, you have dance schools, you have all sorts of schools. But I think these are more, they're more prevalent. What we're doing now, this organisation, this European organisation, which I am founding president of, ECHA, European Council for High Ability, we set up a diploma for teachers, and teacher training for teaching the gifted is growing quite a lot. We've given hundreds and hundreds of these ECHA diplomas all over the world, from Peru to Moscow to the Netherlands, and I know Peru is not in Europe, but they still, they do it. And I'm very pleased with it. I think it's an all-round view of what is high ability. And that's our first graduate in London getting her diploma. Then we have these cultural differences. In Africa, you have the strange situation where, it happens here too, where there has been British colonialism, it is considered a good education to give them what is effectively a private British old-fashioned education. So here are all these boys, no girls, dressed in a uniform which is, 150 years old. They learn Latin, they learn Shakespeare, they grow up as young Englishmen, in a way. But that is what is considered suitable as a kind of gifted education. But what about the girls in Africa? I spotted this outside a country school, and underneath at the bottom, you may be able to see, especially women and girls, who often do not get to school at all. So, if we're looking worldwide, what are the main values underpinning school provision? I say provision, I do not say programs. Program is a particularly set kind of thing. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Provision is a much more open word in which you can come in as you wish, take what you wish from it, do your best within the provision. A program will finish at some point. Well, what are you going to do with these gifted children in a classroom? This is referring to programs because, again, it's got a large American influence, and they do use them, and they use that word. Most teachers prefer gifted children to be within the classroom. That's inclusion. The values which are implicit, not necessarily even recognized,